Breaking Free in downtown St. Paul. This is an organization that helps women in our Twin Cities. There's been 4 murders, 4 deaths this year of women that have been abused in prostitution. We're going to hear Vanita Carter speak in just a few moments.
Hey, are you guys ready? Woo! So I just want to come and thank you and welcome you to Breaking Free's 16th annual Candlelit Vigil in support of survivors of sex trafficking and prostitution. My name is Emily Baldwin. I'm the Executive Director of SARA, Sexual Assault Resource Agency in rural Minnesota. And we're here today standing in solidarity with Breaking Free because we understand that prostitution is a form of violence against women. And that the women that we see in our agency and those who don't make it to our agency, those who slip through the cracks, have a real possibility of ending up in a life like this. And if they're lucky, they'll end up in an agency like this, like Breaking Free. We know, because it is violence against women, that's not just a change to the women we need to make. It's not just a change to the men, it's a change to the culture. Speaking on that culture, I just wanted to add a quick note that October 4th, just last week in Topeka, Kansas, domestic violence was decreed by City Council no longer to be a prosecutable crime. In the 5 days since City Council made that decision, 30 cases of domestic violence were dropped. 16 new cases, arrests that were made, were immediately released upon entering law enforcement because it was known that these cases would not be tried. In 5 days of this being in, 46 perpetrators walked away. It's a statement that violence against women doesn't matter, that violence against women is something that can be cut when the budget needs to be cut. And so I want to thank all of you for coming here tonight, to lending us your voice, to lending us your hearts, and to be part of this movement, to make a stand tonight and let the communities here know that we are not Topeka, Kansas. We are not going to be Topeka, Kansas. So with that, I want to introduce Ms. Vanita Carter, the Executive Director and Founder of Breaking Free.
Thank you. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. One of my hopes and my dreams is that this place is going to be so packed that there's not going to be any sidewalks seen from down there to up there to across the street. I mean, because this is an issue that impacts everybody. Everybody is affected by sex trafficking, not only here in Minnesota, but in the nation and around the world. Sex trafficking is one of the biggest growing businesses that there is right now. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that says a lot. There's a lot of women and girls being sold in our state, in our nation, and in the world. And we have to make a stand. We have to say something about this. And you all coming out here today is part of you standing up and saying it's not okay. We have to do something to end it. We know that prostitution is about supply and demand. So who should we be really looking at right now? Yes. The demand. Who's buying women? Who's buying little girls? We need to get to the bottom of that, and we need to end it. We have to stop it. That's the only way we're going to get rid of this problem in our society. But again, we're going to do a walk tonight, and we're in the community here where women and girls have been known to work the streets. We're not out there to threaten them, to intimidate them. We're there to let them know that you are somebody for one. We're not out there to scare you. We like to scare the tricks. We like to scare any pimps that might be around. Maybe we can have the officer beep his horn or something if we think we see a John. But anyway, that's what we want to do tonight. We're here to make a statement. We're here to just say we want this stopped, we want it ended. And so I really do. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming and showing up and being a part of this with us. Tonight we have 4 speakers, and I'm going to introduce each one of them to you. We have Senator Pappas here with us, and Senator Pappas has been, I'm going to say, one of the warriors in this field for a long time. He's been one person that we can count on, that we can depend on when we need something done. up at the Capitol. She's always there for us. So we're really grateful to have her here tonight. We have Sergeant John Vandemer here with us. I'm telling you, that's a big thing for us, because there aren't too many officers that understand this issue. There aren't too many officers that will bring women and girls into the agency without taking them to jail. I mean, we've come a long way in that way. That didn't used to happen. So we really thank him for that. We thank Jerry Dick, Sergeant Jerry Dick, who's not with us anymore. He was the leader in all of this. We love him and we'll never forget him. We'll never forget him. We also have Cordelia Anderson. Some of you might not have heard of her before, but she speaks on pornography. And anybody who knows anything about pornography knows that pornography is prostitution on paper. That is legalized. And she makes a voice to that. And she tells it like it is, that this is not all right. This is what it is. This is what it looks like. So we're happy to have her here tonight to speak. We also have Naida Presley. And Naida Presley is executive director of the Aurora St. Anthony Block Club. And we're happy to have her because she knows what goes on in this community. And she watches and she sees. And she listens to neighbors. And she has her eye too on the demand. Who are these people that are riding in our community thinking that they can pick up women and girls as they please? It's not all right. So with that, I'm going to have them come up and speak. We'll start with Senator Pappas. So thank you again for being here.
As we hold vigil for our sisters who have been enslaved and trapped as victims of traffickers and pimps, I've been very proud of my relationship with Breaking Free and with the staff here, and very proud of their pioneering work to support victims, advocate for legislation, and hold Johns accountable with their very innovative John School. Last session, I'm very happy to announce we successfully passed our safe harbor legislation. It's a big victory that clearly says that girls under 16, I wish it was under 18, but girls under 16 are not to be treated as criminals, but are to be adjudicated as CHIPs, children in need of protection or services. And that's a long time coming, because I authored the CHIPs bill, and we've had that on the books for 20 years, and it was always intended to protect girls who are trapped in prostitution. Ultimately, as our speakers have said, if we're ever going to solve the problem of the exploitation of women and girls, we have to reduce demand. And that's a huge cultural shift, because in so many ways, in so many manners, girls and women are exploited sexually in our media, in our culture, by men, by movies, by video games. The violence against women in video games is horrendous. And that's another piece of legislation I authored, to require to not allow children under 16 to purchase violent and sexually exploited video games. It was knocked down by the courts. That's where the culture needs to change, because who should say that it's free speech to exploit women and children and girls? That's not free speech, that's exploitation. Anyway, thank you all for your efforts. Continue the work. There's a lot of hard work ahead, but I think we're going to win. Eventually, we're going to win this battle, so thank you.
We have Jen Vandemer now, Sergeant Vandemer.
Hey, if you need to come on up here and stand, please. I asked Patti to stand with us because in the police department, we are all about building relationships and partnerships and collaborating with organizations that are in our neighborhoods, in our communities that need our assistance and that we can assist. And this partnership with Breaking Free, with Vanita and her staff, goes on many years before me, years and years, 10 years, 12 years, a long time ago. We worked together as a partnership to try and end the demand for sex trafficking in our streets of St. Paul. It's a small goal. We think we can still attain that. We are working towards that every day. It's been my honor to be in this position for the last 6 years, to run the Jerry Vick Human Trafficking Task Force and work with the vice officers in the St. Paul Police Department to work towards that goal. And we're happy to continue this relationship. We look forward to this growing, and the growth that Breaking Free's had in the last several years is astounding, and to see this This, I think, is my 6th year being here, and the growth, and it gets bigger every year. So I'm very happy to see that. Very happy to see all these faces again every year, and it keeps getting bigger. So I just want you to know that we'll stand with you in its fight against trafficking, and hope to solve this problem very, very soon.
Years working to stop child sexual abuse, child sexual exploitation, and sexual violence throughout our lives, that this is something that women that have been prostituted many times suffered as children, and part of prevention is doing everything we can to stop that abuse early on that leaves children so vulnerable to be further victimized and exploited and to become exploiters. So we need to be working together, and I honor you as leaders and Breaking Free as a incredible international resource that is renowned when we look at what is here and what is going on and who we are working together with. I'm also, though, here, like many of you are, many of us are, as a survivor of child abuse, as somebody who knows, like many of us know, that we are strong at broken places. And that the leaders here, the women, the leaders, are making the social change, and all of us can make the social change by our voices of experience. Our voices of experience with our professional knowledge that says this has to stop, with our personal knowledge that says this has to stop. Equally, like you've heard, demand is so key. The demand that lets our children and women be treated as sexual objects and sexual commodities, to be bought, to be sold, to be tossed away. That teaches our girls to see themselves that way. That teaches our boys to look at them that way, and our boys to see themselves as users, takers, pornography makers, buyers, and sellers. That doesn't help our boys or our girls or our culture. Sex sells is no excuse. We've all got to say it. It's no excuse. It's no excuse. We are going to demand a change. Demand a change for ourselves, for our culture, for our children, because I want to see this girl. Oh man, I want to see this girl, but you know what I'd like to be here for in 5 years? I'd like to be here in 5 years saying, remember when each year we had new names of people that we needed to make sure were remembered? I don't want new names. None of us want new names. We want to demand a change so there are no more new names.
Again, I'm Naida Presley. I'm the Executive Director of Aurora St. Anthony Neighborhood Development Corporation. And yes, indeed, we started out as a block club to make changes in our neighborhood. So this is just an extension of our work. I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here because we are concerned about this issue. I want to say to you, without you all here and our speakers, there would be no change. So we have a mantra called God Voice, God Power. We're going to do a little call and response here. When I say God Voice, I want you to say God Power. We're going to do that 3 times. God Voice, God Power. God Voice, God Power. God Voice, God Power. Without no voice, we got no power. And the reason why there's change is because you all are the voice and you exercise your power. Now it's mind-boggling to me. Imagine the sale of human flesh, the buying of human flesh. Is that mind-boggling or what? Now today you're here because it's evident that you care. Well, you know who I'm talking to? I'm talking to the folk that need to get involved. I'm talking to the folk that need to join your voices and be that power and be that voice. Because here I'm preaching to the choir because you all care. That's why you're here. You all are here because some of you are victims. You are here because you're again going to make the change. So my call is to the folk that are not here today. I want you all to be accountable and to make this issue your issue and to make the change. We've already heard about the supply and the demand. Who's that man? What's his name? We call him what? John.
John.
We call him them what? Tricks. So what we gonna do? We're gonna change that name. We're gonna change that to No More Johns. No More Johns. No